Welcome.
Hello, it's nice to see you back here with me in the Retro Recipes kitchen. Now in today's episode we're going to be talking about the best-selling home computer of all time, the Commodore 64. Now when I installed a Commodore 64 Mini inside this Commodore 64, people asked, what if there's an even smaller Commodore 64 inside the C64 Mini? Well actually, this is the 64 Adore by Chris McVeigh. It's made completely of Lego. So then I thought, well, what if we could build a full-size working Lego Commodore 64? Now sure, on one hand it would be an expensive executive desk toy, but on the other hand there is a practical application. See, these bread bin style cases are getting harder and harder to find in good condition, not just because I'm hoarding 5 of them. So if we could build a suitably retro looking Lego case that could hold a real motherboard and keyboard, well, it would really solve that problem. And best of all, what if you could build it in any color, transparency, or design that was available in Lego bricks? That's all coming up here in part 1 as we build the Commodore Brixty-Four. Feel free to like and subscribe, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss out on the future episodes of this project. I do hope I can earn you checking out my Patreon as well. For now though, it's time to go brick to the future. Welcome to Retro Recipes. So the first thing we need to do is get our real Commodore 64. And use our trusty home-base tape measure to get measurements of all the dimensions. For the motherboard, I'm going to have to crack open my Commodore Music Maker refurb here that I made my theme tune on, and just borrow it to get those dimensions. Then you may ask, how do we get those dimensions into Lego proportions? Well, we use the Lego unit converter, of course. This converts millimeters or inches into Lego studs, which also happens to be the pet name I give my Patreons. And then the software I'm going to be using is called Studio. Studio. This is a very cool piece of software. You can load up any official Lego set, like the old LL924 Space Cruiser that I had as a kid, and manipulate the pieces. You can actually use any piece in existence around the world to build anything your heart desires. In this case, our heart desires a Commodore 64. Aliens. It'll then price up all those parts according to the live prices from all the stores where they're available. Wait, how much? Don't worry, there is a way to get this price down. And then what you get are these handy little bundles of Lego from various stores, some of them even put together into strange shapes for you. So let's start at the beginning and lay down our first bricks. Now this whole project represents about 2 weeks of solid work, but after day 1, here's what I had. Let's just rewind a bit, and I'll talk you through a couple of the most interesting parts of this. Firstly, you'll notice these white stripes. Now I am going to try to use these studs to secure the real Commodore 64 motherboard into the case. But as a backup plan, these are damage-free hanging strips, and they provide very good horizontal resistance. So when you're plugging things into the cartridge port, the motherboard shouldn't move, but it also won't be damaged by the strips. By the way, at any point during the video, check out all the recipe ingredients you need in the description below. I'll list out everything that I feature, and less. More. Then I worked really hard to get the distinctive shape of the Commodore 64 case just right. And of course the dimensions of all those openings. And then you'll notice I've got these smooth tiles. What I want us to do is throw hinges on the back so we can open the case and peer inside. And I'll put a little stud there in the middle to act as a fastener. Now of course we've got to be able to match up all the ports at the back of the real motherboard to this Lego case. These are the hinges we're going to use. Hey, looks like a Commodore 64. Well, 32. Now in the real case, it has some ventilation on the base, so I wanted to create a little kind of ventilation ducting system here so that our real PCB doesn't get overcooked. And that's what we ended up with. And we've also added some smooth areas for the cartridge user and cassette ports so that they can slide in and out nice and easy. And of course, being Lego, we can change up the color to anything available. Pretty good. What do you think, puppy? High five. Speaking of kids, quick shout out to 8-year-old Grace Mueller. Hi Grace. Her dad is a Perifrac Team Platinum member on my Patreon, and he told me she's a big fan of the channel. Thank you so much. On her channel, yes, she has a channel, she covers video games, retrocomputing, and also Lego construction. Looks like I might have some competition there. Well, either way, hello Grace. Now, back to our regularly scheduled programming, where there may be something we can do to spruce up that case base. What the heck, let's throw a Lego motherboard in there as an option. Of course, it's got a fuse. Looks like that might be blown, actually. I'll check it later. There's the enclosure for the graphics chip, the VIC-2. Let's have a bit of fun with that. I'll put the lid back on. Throw some hinges on. Then we can open and close it to our heart's content. Peekaboo! Where are the what, did you say?
SID chips.
SID chips. Ooh, tasty. Waiter! And you know me, of course this PCB has a SID chip. But given some of the music I make this thing do, I should probably throw a heatsink on there. Nice. Alright, let's put our top on the computer. Of course, this is a great excuse to get out some real Lego and measure it. By that I mean play with it. Ghostbusters! And after another few fun days of playing with our Lego, here's where the project's at. Oh, and in case you were wondering, I created these 3D animations in Blender and then just dragged and dropped them into Blender Grid, who rendered them for us in a jiffy. Well, actually it was in a computer. Let me rewind and step you through a couple of the interesting parts. Now, getting that distinctive curve was really difficult. I tried all sorts of different bricks. And you have to leave room for the spacebar, of course, as well. But eventually I found something that worked. And we want to get that distinctive grille pattern in there. And I thought, why don't we make the LED electric? So this is a brick from an old 9-volt electric system, and you can use this wire to connect it to a Lego battery, or to the 9-volt line of a real Commodore 64 PCB. It came in sets like this. So I was able to position that under the top of the case, there's plenty of room there, and have it push up through the grille. You can then choose a light bulb cover, and fortunately this one's available in transparent red. Perfect. This really was an illuminating experience. And then the most fun part of all, making the Commodore logo. Now there are these 1x1 Lego tiles with letters on. I wasn't too happy with the stripes there. So I decided to go for the authentic rainbow pattern. I did want to do horizontal lines, but there was no way to get 5 in there, and also no real way to get them in vertically that worked. Oops. Don't know how that got there. Now if you've ever looked at your Commodore 64 case backwards, and who hasn't, you'll notice there are ventilation holes in the roof as well. So I wanted to put those in. And I used these Lego Technic plates. I lined the holes with the grills that I already had there. And we get this nice ventilated top part to keep our real PCB nice and cool. Or our Lego SID chip, of course. Time to render some of these images again, and of course we use the 8-bit setting. You can even do UV degradation. Yes, we can yellow this case, although I prefer the retro brighted look. Well, let's unite the top with the base and PCB. Well, next up was the keyboard, and as I mentioned, Lego do these letters, so we should be able to fashion some sort of rudimentary looking keyboard. I started building something that was just for show, but then the more I thought about it, we had a working LED, why not have working keys? I found this part. It's actually spring-loaded. If you put a pole or an axle through the middle, I realized you could line 4 of them up and have them actually push against the axle and operate as real sprung mechanical keys. You can see the springs going in just here. It's amazing actually how similar it is to the real Commodore sprung mechanical keyboard. I got really stuck here. I couldn't figure out why there was no number 9 available. Can you work it out? Yeah, it's just a 6 upside down. Duh. That took me about 3 days to figure out. I totally spaced out and forgot the space bar. There it is, a fully working mechanical Lego Commodore 64 keyboard. Nice. As expected, if you hit the key, it goes down. Let's unite it with the other parts. I have to say, at the start of this project, I was quite literally bricking it. For what we've achieved here, it's incredible. But you might be wondering, why did I use the keys that have these ridges vertically up the sides? Well, that was the only one that fit with an interesting idea I came up with. You see, I was exploring my real keyboard and I noticed inside the keys, they connect using this axle shape. Look familiar? Yeah, it's the exact same shape the Lego Technic axle pieces use. So I designed the keyboard so that you could actually take off all the Lego keys and put them onto a real Commodore 64 keyboard. And that way you can have something that looks like this, but is fully operational. You could use something like this. This is the MechBoard 64 by Mountain Buffalo. It's a brand new Commodore 64 keyboard base, and crucially it doesn't come with any keys, so it's perfect for this application. By the way, if you ever want to get into PCB prototyping like Mountain Buffalo, I recommend PCBWay! They really make prototyping PCBs easy. And as we all know, PCB stands for Perifractics Commodore Bricks. So we've got that working keyboard and that LED in there. How are we going to power the LED? I settled on this 9-volt power pack, and I realized with a bit of orientation I could actually fit it in where the power button goes and have the switch that's built into the power pack double as the Commodore 64 power switch in its original location. Then it's just a question of finding some appropriate joystick ports. I think that round piece is a Star Wars part, but it looks just like the power socket. And then these are the cables we're going to use. We'll stick in that yellow plug. And it connects to these little white terminals on top of the battery. Make a little hole in the top for the wire to come out of. And then that wire is going to run from the battery up to the LED. And there it is, our finished design. And as promised, you can hinge open the top to peek inside. Peekaboo! I've got to stop saying that. But of course, it's never going to be as simple as it seems. I realized the keyboard was actually impeding on part of the motherboard, so I had to move these capacitors around. And unfortunately, we have to lose the VIC-2 cover. Vic, you're just too tall. Also, the keyboard was closing onto the battery pack. Ugh. But with a bit of manipulation, I was able to carve a corner out of the keyboard so that it wraps around it like this. Aw, nice and snug. But you know, this is Lego. We can have any color available. It doesn't have to be just classic grey. So if we are going to redesign this case and use it as a replacement case, we may as well have some fun. Plenty of options. Transparent red, anyone? Oh, or a nice dark red. Transparent is actually a lovely idea to be able to see the Lego motherboard through there. Transparent blue, maybe? Or even pink. How about Stormtrooper black and white? That one really has the force. Or we could go for a classic glossy black. Or my personal favourite, and the one I think I'm going to order a copy of. Lemon and grey. So with great pleasure I present to you, weighing in at 82 ounces or over 2 kilograms, all 2,191 bricks of the Commodore Brixty-Four. It's like 1982 all over again, in more ways than one. Now there's only one thing left to do. I've got to order all these bricks. Let's see how much they cost. Just kidding, I'm fine. Mainly because that was recorded a long time ago. Anyway, I noticed that if I uploaded this wanted list to Bricklink, the price dropped significantly. Presenting the Cademo Opera 46. I prefer Brixty-Four myself. And here you can see the best prices found from these 5 retailers. $170, you know, it sounds like a lot, but when you consider that tiny Commodore 64 made of Lego costs around $30 to $40, $170 for a full-size case actually isn't that bad in Lego terms. But what is bad is we've now got to wait for all these pieces to arrive for the next episode in this series, where I'm going to build the whole thing, also design up some instructions, and make this thing in the flesh. Well, plastic. And then I'll take it all apart again and see if I can put a real Commodore 64 motherboard and keyboard in there. And then only when I've made all the tweaks and perfections necessary, I'll release all the files and info you need in the descriptions of these videos so you can order and build your own. I'm going to make it completely free and open source for the benefit of the retro community. But if you do want to support me and this project, feel free to become a member of my Perifrac team on Patreon. I hope to see you there. For now though, what do you think of the project? What colour or design would you build? Thanks for watching, comment below, and cheerio.